Hi guys, it's Oscrix. Today I want to talk about Summon Wolf. Summon Wolf is the new minion that will be available in the patch for POE2, and it looks pretty unique. And unlike the other minions that are available currently in POE2, it doesn't reserve spirit, it's actually summoned through a combination of skills. The first thing you need to do is apply a mark to a target, which I guess either you could cast it or you could apply it by using a pounce attack, is what they show in the trailer. And then you need to remove that mark with cross slash, and that cross slash summons wolves. Based on the footage, it summons multiple wolves, and based on what Jonathan said, we can have around 15 of those wolves. So that's a pretty big pack of wolves. They move pretty quickly based on the footage, and they also have a leaping attack a la Unearth, which allows them to close gaps a lot better and kind of work out the kinks of like reaching the monster with like, it kind of gives them pseudo phasing in that way because they'll jump over each other and stuff like that. So they look pretty strong for clear relative to being a melee minion, although being a melee minion's kind of a big hindrance for clear in general. But I think with impact shockwave they could clear pretty nicely. So based on all of that, it looks like they have pretty strong behavior for a melee minion. There's always that caveat. And having around 15 of them makes them a really good candidate for giving them a bunch of flat damage with Tactician, and that really coincides well with having to use a talisman weapon, which is a two-handed melee weapon, which assumedly, just like any other two-handed melee weapon, you can get a bunch of flat physical on it, probably somewhere around, 600 or something like that, 700 flat physical, I would expect, which then you transfer 25% of that flat fizz to all the wolves in your presence. Then, also on Tactician, you can use War Banner, which gives a bunch of more attack damage to your minions. And since you're already attacking on this build, you can generate Rage, and you can anoint sharing Rage with allies in your presence, so then they get your Rage, or you transfer Rage to them, which gives them even more attack damage multiplier. And then you can wear 2 Ever-Grasping Rings to get 60% damage as extra Chaos, and then you can make them all also apply Wither, so you've got 15 wolves with a bunch of more damage, 60% damage is extra, all withering. It sounds like it could do a lot of damage to me, but this is all kind of hypothetical. We don't know the numbers of the skills and all that, so yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the POB and I'll show off all the other stuff about the character that I haven't already yapped about. Alright, so let's start out by going over why Tactician. Like I said earlier, 25% of your talisman's damage is going to be transferred to your minions in presence, which is a ton of flat damage. Flat damage is extremely difficult to get in this game, so really good way to transfer that to your minions. And then whoever pays best allows access to all the banners and auto-generates glory to use them. So the banners are all pretty good. War Banner gives more attack damage and increased attack speed. That's probably the best one in general. This will be a really big steroid for you and your minions. This affects all the allies in it as well. And then you can also use Defiance Banner, which gives a ton of movement speed within the radius. That's a pretty good one. And Dread Banner, which also gives maximum resistance, which is pretty nice. So pretty good banners. I think War Banner is the best one here, but you could use the other ones too. And then the rest of the tree is basically nothing. Persistent Buffs has less reservation as a prerequisite for these 2 nodes, and this might allow you to slot in something else, but I don't think it's going to do much. Supporting Fire, this node probably doesn't do anything, but maybe it's decent for applying debuffs. It is a minion, it is affected by a lot of the allies and present stuff, so maybe it's good to use too, but I don't really think it will be. Anyways, you get 20% minion damage from this node before it. That's definitely good, so maybe this does something, but probably not. So it's mostly just these 2 points for Tactician, but they are extremely good points. And then in the tree, let's go over that. So you have to path all the way up here because it's an ES build. Why wouldn't it be, right? If they nerf ES a ton this patch, let's say they nerf it by 40%, then you have about 10k ES on this character. So not the tankiest, but definitely not the squishiest by any means, especially because it has a really fast energy shield recharge delay. And if it's not nerfed, it's around 15, 16, well, it's much closer to 16k ES with really good gear. This is like all like T2 everything, T2 every prefix that you need for all this stuff. So pretty strong defenses. Going CI with an energy shield like this allows you to use Ever-Grasping Ring, which gives 30% of damage as extra chaos for allies in your presence. You can wear 2 of these, so 60% damage is extra. This goes nicely with the Wither on the tree, like I said earlier, that you get from this point. Right Hand of Darkness. Minions have 10% chance to inflict Withered on hit. So with Withered and the Ever-Grasping Rings and all these damage multipliers already there, War Banner, I think this will do a lot of damage. Like I said earlier, we don't really know about the exact skill info, but I think this is a strong character with a good defensive tree, and it also manages to pick up a decent amount of movement speed. Since you path by the ranger area, you can get this move speed. Since you path over here, you can get this move speed from these two nodes. So not the fastest moving build, but they said that Wolf gets some benefits to movement, and it already has this kind of like pounce gap closer ability. So I have a feeling that this build will actually play pretty zoomy. It really just comes down to how much damage the wolves do. The attribute requirements are kind of up in the air. I'm not really sure exactly what needs to be on the cards to use wolves and stuff like that, but I assume it's all strength int, and you don't really need much dex because it's in the strength int starting area, all the druid stuff, right? So I assume that it's going to be mostly strength requirement, maybe a little bit of dex, maybe, but probably mostly strength int. Some other notes about this build in general that I have in here: you can solve resists and attributes by corrupting jewels and double corrupting them later. This build has a decent amount of jewels since it travels a bunch. All the jewels are energy shield, minion damage, and minion attack cast speed. And yeah, you could corrupt these later to do that. Oh yeah, and the general gear level on this POB is really high. This is like super endgame gear, but I just wanted to put it together just to like kind of show what you would probably want to aspire to if you're playing a build like this. Although it's not like the complete ceiling, I think, you know, you can min-max this a decent bit more than I have here. But yeah, I think it has a lot of potential to be good, that's for sure. You could replace boots with move speed and move speed while sprinting with 100% effective sockets later. That's a big one that you could get more movement speed. I just have boots with resist and ES and movement speed right now on here. What else? Supporting, like I said earlier, supporting fire could be good for applying withered stacks, but probably not the best damage. Wolves probably need impact shockwave to clear because they're melee minions. That's probably the case. And wolves might need additional investment in resistance and life to stay alive. I don't have anything on the tree really for them here, except for gigantic, giving them more life. So they might need more stuff to stay alive. We'll have to see. Maybe you generate them faster than they die, and it's not a problem. We'll have to see. And like I said, ES might be nerfed, so this might end up being squishier. And who knows if this is good enough, but it has a lot of damage multipliers, so maybe it is. And that is exactly the kind of message in the end here. I think this build is good. I think the concept works nicely, and the amount of more damage and everything like that, and the defense level looks good to me. And I would, you know, play something like this on hardcore, but I probably will end up playing this second character since it's kind of difficult to level in this area and stuff like that. But I definitely think wolves have a place, and I think Tactician is one of the best ways to play them in this patch. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope this gives you guys some ideas on how you might build wolves, and I hope you guys have a wonderful time in 0.4. Later, guys. Peace.